Hi guys, welcome to another episode of the TNI show. Today we'll be looking into big data and what that looks like in terms of mobility and specifically the transportation industry. Hi, my name is Toni-Moy and I am joined with my host.
Iman Tofik, and today we're joined by our special guests, Andrea. Hi, Andrea, Sherry, and Paul.
Thanks
And
for
so,
joining us today, guys. Looking forward to our fruitful discussion. Before we can delve into our topic, it would be great to have an appreciation of what digital transformation exactly is and what that looks like. This is the process by which we convert analogous information into digital information. It looks a whole lot different based off of the industry in which you're utilizing it, but basically, it is using digital technologies to ensure that human aspects of life and society are made simpler. It uses heavily our computer and internet technologies just to ensure that everything is properly digitized. Having gone over what digital transformation is, there are a few essential components that are paramount to this particular definition. And I will allow Iman to let you guys know about those essential components.
yeah, thanks, Tony. I guess, like you mentioned, one of the more important components is digitization. But to start with, really, it goes down to why we're doing this, and it comes down to satisfying customer needs. And so that could be in terms of new products, producing something that's cheaper, and maybe more efficient processes. But to be able to do that, companies need employees that have a specific set of skills, and this is because we're going to have a lot of data that we never had. And this could be stuff that you already have within the company, but there's also acquiring new data through, IoT devices, sensors that are coming up that will help us gain insights and actions that will ultimately help us deliver to the customers. So with that, maybe we'll transition into what is big data, because that's something we hear about a lot. So Andrea.
Oh, hi. Thank you, Iman, for the introduction. I'm gonna talk about big data. Big data is the concept is method and algorithms and system to discover, and this helps to generate and present the big data, generating the first bit that is the value for businesses. So this data is essential to business to present the insights to stakeholders that helps to support the decision-making process for them. And also the opportunity that to adopt new strategies supporting this decision-making and the ways of data interpretation using these new technologies that, for example, the COVID-19 uh, give us in this big transition using maybe data analytic tools instead. Next, please. And also this data we get for a variety of sources and formats of data like social media, electronic commerce data, graphical data, multimedia data. And this gives us like data structured and unstructured. That's why we use like analytical tools to give all in one and present in the best way and accuracy. And a little, and I'm gonna pinpoint in this date that is like big data governance that is managing vast volumes of an organization data to exploit that this decision making using analytical tools. Thank you.
Thank Thank you so much, Andrea. I guess that's a lot of information from different sources that we need to number crunch, but maybe to put it into simple terms, we'll now explore some real life use cases that we can relate to. So Sherry, what have you found in terms of using big data for GPS and urban planning?
Thank you so much, Iman. So, yeah, in terms of the applied uses of big data, one of the big ones is in GPS systems and specifically for navigational purposes. So, have you ever wondered how your GPS helps you to navigate on your way to work? How does it track your precise location or the location of accident sites around you? So big data is the underlying technology that tracks all of these precise locations of all these sites. In GPS systems, big data collects information through radio frequency identification sensors and geographic positioning to actively provide real-time data about route traffic and even accident-prone areas to its users. So one of the ways it does so is through the use of deep learning technology. Big data-based GPS systems can actually interpret the contextual meaning of LED shop signs in order to store data about the surroundings. This can help users to search for nearby shops and other locations. One use of these big data information is in accessibility. So Blind Square specifically is a GPS app developed for the blind, deafblind, or partially sighted. So it uses self-voicing technology to deliver detailed information about various points of interest and intersections so that disabled people can have safe, reliable travel. It uses third-party apps like Foursquare and OpenStreetMap to give the user feedback about its surroundings. And this is an exciting feature that is only possible because of the vast amount of data that is available in today's day and time. One other big goal of GPS systems and big data is in system integration. So this terminology is intermodal routing, which means how can we efficiently combine different routes of transportations into one system for the user so that they can have a better mobility experience, even if they have to switch through different transportation modes. And in terms of the impacts of big data and GPS on urban planning and traffic forecasting, there was an interesting study done by Gonzalez and colleagues who studied the trajectory of about 100,000 anonymous mobile phone users over a 6-month period. So what they found is that human trajectories actually show a high degree of temporal and spatial regularity as compared to what they previously thought, which was that humans had a random walk model. So their findings actually showed that individual travel patterns can be characterized by a couple things. So the first is that the travel distance is relatively stable and independent of time. And individuals also display a significant probability of returning to a few highly frequented locations. So their findings are significant because it shows that despite the diversity of individual people's travel history and travel patterns, there is an inherent similarity that can make it possible to implement predictive systems and predictive analysis to predict where humans are more likely to be at, or human mobility. And all of this can greatly benefit urban planning efforts. As everyone knows, cities are becoming more and more crowded, and the United Nations predicts that 68% of the human population will be in urban areas by 2050, and this is in comparison to 55% in 2020. So problems like traffic congestion, pollution, they're just going to continue increasing. And by collecting travel pattern data, we can better understand human mobility and improve urban planning. One of the ways is through traffic forecasting. So for example, using predictive analytics, urban planners can help to create virtual models of transportation infrastructure and simulate traffic conditions so that they can better understand how new systems can affect traffic conditions across the city. This can allow them to design public transport systems that minimize traffic congestions and make traveling more convenient. Another way is, in the recent example of the COVID-19 pandemic, thinking back to that time where governments failed to control the mass spread of the coronavirus, imagine how easy it would have been if we had really, really good big data on travel patterns and human mobility. We could have tracked those cases and helped to prevent some of the spread that we saw during the pandemic. So that is yet another application of urban planning and traffic forecasting.
Thank you so very much, Sherry. Such a mouthful, a lot to digest in one setting. But we see where big data has proven its significance in urban planning, traffic forecasting, as well as what it looks like in GPS. So back into you now with your traffic, I'm going to delve into how that is applicable on the sea as it relates to transportation. So in an area where logistics is of importance and receiving your goods on time with minimal number of traffic and congestions at the port, big data is here to save the day to alleviate those problems. What is specific is that in 2019, Ilya Shanko conducted a study where he watched and geotagged 1,000 ships leaving out of the port of Shanghai in China just to see what they would look like in terms of traffic, not only on the seas and on the port, and mimic that with seasonality to determine what time of the year the seas would be most congested. Big data was utilized greatly in this process because it now would have given companies the opportunity to track their vehicles and determine at what time of the year their different ships should be sent on the ports and as well as on the sea. As relates to those who are expecting cargo, big data assists them greatly in optimizing traffic logistics because it helps them to be able to better plan at what points they need to go to the different ports to check to clear their containers just to ensure that they're able to get their raw material and their goods in on time when needed. Lastly, not related to the actual transportation on the sea, but we see where big data has been very instrumental in terms of vehicle maintenance and insurance, which is a great way for companies to help to navigate and maintain their overall cost for transportation. So having looked on what big data looks like in the freight industry, I'll now give my co-host the opportunity to tell us what it looks like on land in terms of parking.
Thank you so much, Tony. And I think maybe to add to yours even, we've used what's it called, GPS data, like Sherry mentioned, in terms of optimizing routes that our trucks take every day. And this has easily resulted in fuel cost reduction, which translates to emissions reduction, which is something that is, on top of mind for everybody these days. So just a real life use case there. And then in terms of parking, when it comes to customers like ourselves that live in bigger cities, one of the things you really want to do is find parking when you're late to a meeting and you're just like, okay, I need to get there. And the other part is, cost of the parking. So to optimize this, what companies are doing is giving people the opportunity to pre-book some of these options. So you could say, well, for street parking, how are they going to know if it's available in 30 minutes when I arrive? So this is where, new sensors come into play, which is what you see in the picture above, even though that's for indoor, but it kind of gives an indication to the user if a spot is available. So if you're trying to park somewhere in West Ed Mall, for example, this becomes important, but also in terms of the company knowing which slots are open and being able to lock them in. So that's where, those kinds of fit for purpose apps are playing using the big data that we have. And so maybe to move to the next part, we can explore a little bit about electric cars. Andrea?
Thanks again, Iman. Well, electric cars are positioning in the market strongly in the transport market because, well, they affect and the environmental aspects. And this big data is also related because to implement these electric cars, they require that to the customers all the requirements that it's supposed to be these electric cars, right? So I'm gonna present also a graphic that the most electric cars that we have in the transport market now. Can you go to the next, please? Thank you. In the first place, we have those brands, but in the first place is Tesla, for example, right? Tesla has a big technology about even for the ensemblation technology with the Wi-Fi, and even those advantages like program or control it remotely, that is like the automated driver, defrosting windows in winter, that is good in Canada, for example, in the winter. And it is also helps to the pollution reduction. And Tesla also in all the electric cars, the technology and implements the Wi-Fi that help us to track with this big data, and also with this automated driver help is related because we use a lot of the GPS to control the direction that we wanna go, right? So that's all that I have to mention about these electric cars that can replace to the combustion engines cars.
Thanks so very much, Andrea. And to see what the development is looking like with big data and electric cars is really mind blowing coming from a small island as Jamaica, where we aren't so advanced as it relates to having electric cars here. So we would have looked on what big data is looking like on the sea as well as on land. I think the only basis that we haven't covered as yet is in the air. So I'll now give Paul the opportunity to tell us what big data is looking like in the aviation industry. Handing over to
Thank,
you.
thank you very much. So, and yes, so looking at big data and its impact in the aviation industry. So, not many fields have big data impacted and continue to increase in importance in business decisions as the aviation industry. So, data analytics is actually not new in aviation. It's becoming increasingly important with increasing competition. So also with increased focus on social issues such as the environment as it relates to carbon emission from aviation fuel, uh, the discussion have moved this into like the center of the public debate. So, but again, for the sustenance of the businesses, the primary factor is the cost reduction. So those two factors are a major part with the renewed focus on big data. And currently, they use big data to generate data to improve service quality, such as reducing fuel consumption and reducing cost. And the primary data analytical factors are for operations like ticketing, check-in, pre and post boarding, in-flight services, passenger safety, and general security, marketing, luggage management, customer loyalty, sustenance. So according to Peter Sondergaard of Research and Gertner Inc., information is the oil of the 21st century, and analytics is the combustion engine. That is to understate the importance of big data, and it continues to grow. So currently, focus has shifted quickly to converting generated data to useful information that in turn is used to improve the service quality and to reduce costs. This has helped to keep in touch or gain a competitive advantage or sometimes find a completely different niche in the aviation industry. An example of these are the ultra low cost airlines. Using big data, they are able to effectively classify essential and non-essential services. The essentials can be retained and non-essentials can be eliminated altogether. So cost savings are then transferred back to the customer. So all these things are enabled by further research into big data, using big data to generate useful information. So research on airline profitability by Katsuri and Co. On average, an aircraft generates alone about 20 terabytes of data per year. So that's just on the engine. So, and that is one of the many areas that aviation data can be generated and can be utilized. So with that amount of data generated by the airlines, they're able to reduce cost by collapsing different services that previously drove up operating cost into one central operation. For example, one of the ultra low cost airlines, Flair Airlines, operates 100% online, self-serve and chat services. So this departure from the traditional customer service, such as telephone, customer service, mail, email, brick and mortar services, is this departure is enabled because the airlines are continuously improving on their utilization analysis and conversion of data generated to implement strategic changes. So that's the analysis on big data and aviation. I'll now pass it back on to the presenters. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Paul. Man, there's so much happening in big data and mobility, and you talking about data being, the oil of the century gives us maybe a topic for our next discussion. But thank you so much for joining this episode, and we look forward to hearing your comments and questions soon. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us on the talk show.
Yeah, thank you very much.